So today's session promises to be a really, really interesting one. I was intrigued by one of the posts that Greshma ji had done, and I thought that it will be really nice to, invite her, and if she shares her learnings from all of us, I think it will be very, very interesting. And I'm sure, it will be a lot of learning and a lot of reflecting maybe for all of us as well in the next 30 minutes. So Ashwini, I think you can introduce ma'am and then we can pass it over to her. People should join in by then.
Fine. Thank you, sir.
Welcome,
Very
welcome Greshma ji. Welcome to this forum.
Thank you. I'm super excited because to meet so many teachers, together. So I'm super excited.
Yes. Yes, Ashwini, over to you.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to all, and welcome to our 55th episode of CC Friday. Today's session will be facilitated by Ms. Greshma Momaya ma'am. A quick introduction of ma'am. Greshma ma'am is a multi-awardee edu leader and parenting expert with a history of working in the space of children and education for more than 15 years. She is an active speaker, mentor, and trainer who believes in knowledge sharing, collaborating, innovating, and inventing the best practices in early childhood care and education world with educators and parents. Her education and career have been dedicated to developing young minds. A bachelor degree in human development followed by a postgraduate diploma in school counseling from the University of Mumbai and a certification in early years child foundation stage from UK empower her to create an electric curriculum for nurturing young minds. She has recently certified from Harvard University in school leadership. She started her career as a kindergarten teacher and taught at the primary level for 7 years. Then as preschool coordinator and operations head, and now as head of TOPS. She has been involved in designing of learning environments, scripting curriculum, and training teachers in preschool. From 2007, she is set on a journey for creating stimulating early learning environments. She enjoys creating vibrant learning environments that are happy and warm. In her words, I strive to ensure that curriculum is both enriching and stimulating for young children. I believe a preschool should be a wonderful safe haven for children, a home away from home where learning is effortless and organic. Looking at challenges children face in school, she is set on a mission of happy child, happy teaching, and happy parenting. To take her mission forward, she has launched e-counseling services for teachers, parents, and children under the name Empower with Greshma. Ms. Greshma ma'am has also been a recipient of numerous awards and recognitions. Some of them are Best Preschool Principal India South by Early Childhood Development Forum, Certified Educator from UNESCO, UNICEF, Microsoft, and Khan Academy, successfully completed school leadership course from Harvard University, awarded as Certified Microsoft Innovative Educator, Educational Ambassador at 100.org from Finland and UK, India Star Icon Awardee, Global Goodwill Ambassador of India, represented India at Global Educational Supplies and Solutions, Dubai in 2017, Ambassador of India for Child Abuse Prevention Program, Honorable Advisor at Sports Association of India, Parenting and Educational Expert at firstcry.com, Zedua and K Junction, titled as Wonder Woman on the Wonder Woman World, awarded as International Women Achiever Award 2021, invited to speak at various educational conferences in India and abroad. Welcome, ma'am. Wonderful to have you with us this evening.
Thank you so much. After listening to all this, I just realized that I have to cut short my bio to little less so that everyone, it becomes little awkward for me also to listen for such long. Okay, anyways, thank you for such a warm welcome and a brief introduction about me. I am only grateful to have this opportunity to speak to 150 teachers, close to 150 teachers, maybe somewhere between we are 111 right now. So even if I just multiply it into 30, the number of children that we will be impacting today is going to be just crazy. So 100, because I'm assuming that every class will have approximately 30 children in a class. So the amount of impact that we will have on so many children, I'm just grateful for that. Okay, so before we start our session, just some basic rules and housekeeping rules that we expected our children to follow it in last 2 years during our online class, and I thought that we should also follow, because as per the research, the average human being loses attention 6 to 10 times per minute. Okay, which means the most part of this workshop, there will also be, all human beings nowadays, with all thanks to social media and technology, we all have chronic distractive disability that most of us are suffering because of multitasking. So if your mobile is on, or if you're trying to multitask right now, I would request you to pay attention to me, because when you pay attention to an information given, you are more present, you are more conscious, and you are only making new connections in your brain. So let us make new connections in our brains. And in this session, I also get to relive my past events that have occurred in my life. So this topic is actually very close to my heart, because yes, we all have made mistakes. We all make mistakes, and I have only reflected on my mistakes. I have put down on a post, and while I was going through my journey of teaching, I was just reflecting on my mistakes, and that's how this session came into exist. Okay, so I'll be sharing my mistakes and also how I overcame those mistakes, so that maybe you will have some takeaways. And as Mr. Siddharth said, yes, you will. It's an opportunity for you to reflect and then try to overcome if you are also making those mistakes. If you are not making any of these mistakes, I would suggest you to just pat your back after the session. Okay, so let's start. The first thing that all the teachers, be it new teacher or an experienced teacher, they all want this. They all make this mistake. And at some point, we all have made this mistake. And even I have made it. And it is, when I started my teaching journey, I was worried, most worried, too much worried about being liked by my students, the class students that I had. I'll just start my presentation for a moment. Give me a minute. Yes. 1 minute. Yes. Are you all able to see it? Yes? Okay. So, the first mistake that I made was I worried too much about being liked by the students in my class. I just wanted them to like me. And in this process of them liking me, I actually made too many mistakes. So let me share. In the first year, I still remember the first year of my teaching, I was all excited to get into the class and to be that cool teacher and a friend to all these children. I just wanted children to think about me as their friend, or as a cool teacher who jokes around with them, who will play with them, who also listens to them. And in this process, I realized that it caused something. It caused discipline problems. It is because I wanted them to think of me being a cool teacher or a cool friend. I realized that they actually don't need friends. They have too many friends, but what they actually needed was an adult who can guide them, a teacher who can guide them, and also sometimes become the bad cop who can actually help them overcome their difficulties, their challenges, and or even make them do certain tasks that are mandate in a school. So this was my first mistake in the first year. I thought that I can be that cool teacher, and I failed miserably in the first year because there were so many discipline issues. My class was called the noisiest class, and no one wanted to come for substitution. And then, okay, came the second year. I reflected on my mistakes, and I realized that no, now I cannot make the same mistakes. So what I did in my second year of teaching, I went up to an experienced teacher, a veteran teacher, and I took her advice. And I still remember what she said. She said, Greshma, don't smile until Christmas. It is just fit in my mind that don't smile until Christmas. So then I decided to become a strict teacher, a very drill surgeon, who could stare a student to death. And I just couldn't do it because my personality as a person, I'm always smiling. I am high on energy, and back then I had young energy and, all bubbly and choppy and, always smiling. So I tried to become a teacher that I wasn't, and it was against my personality. So what happened was I couldn't be consistent, and I gave very confusing messages to my children because sometimes I was very strict, sometimes I was very smiling and very bubbly with them. So they couldn't understand what I am expecting from them or who I am, and that actually caused a lot of discipline issues and behavioral issues in my class. And again, in the second year of my teaching, I failed. Then the third year, after 2 years of failure as a teacher, I finally sat down and I listed down my biggest strengths. And along with my strengths, I also noted down my weaknesses. And then I combined 3 of my strong personality assets and came up with a combination that worked for me as a teacher. And I didn't try to change my personality. I just noted down my strengths, combined it, and once I could define my personality and my persona, I realized I could communicate effectively and easily to students. And then I realized who I was as a teacher. So I'll just share what I had come up with. So I am, I would say, a firm teacher with high expectations from my students, but I am also flexible. Flexible means giving choice to children. So this is a task. They know they have to do it. They don't have an option of doing or not doing it. But they can choose when to do it on some days. On some days, you can also I gave them a choice of how to do it. For example, there's a writing work. You want to finish it after, a short break after going to washroom. I gave them a choice, but there was no choice of not doing it. So that one. I am a compassionate and caring human being, and I am more inclined as a person to use humor in the classroom instead of threats, especially during disciplining issues. But I am absolutely intolerant of rude and disrespectful behavior in my classroom. And I am passionate about my subject and my work that I do. And I am willing to help my students and to come halfway to help students. But I cannot, it cannot be just one way that I go and help students, but students are not interested or the parents are not interested. So there were some parents who were absolutely not supportive. So I did have a counseling session with them to gain their support, and which I did. And the last thing is, I make a few rules in my classroom, which are made along with the children. but they are absolutely non-negotiable. So if the child needs to be in the classroom, the child has to follow the classroom. And one last important tool that we all have as teachers. Can anyone tell me, can anyone write it in the chat box? What is that important tool that we all have as teacher? We need to start the academic year with it to make sure that children like us or children say good things about us. Rules, okay, rules: love, patience, reward, smile, positive attitude, patience, okay, personality. These are right answers, but I'm looking for my answer. Appreciation, okay, connection. Roshni, you are a little close. Believe in my students, okay, bonding. It is actually knowing your children, taking time out to know our children. Yes, Kiran. We need to know our students to actually build that relationship with them. So first month of the academic year needs to be spent to actually know your student, their likes, their dislikes, how they react when they are throwing tantrum. Yes, and that is one tool that we all of us have. We just don't put it into practice. And when children feel that there is someone who is actually wanting to know more about me, trust me, that bond, that relationship is just built like this. So the first week, if you can dedicate that, I think we all have started the academic year, but first week dedicate in just knowing your children as much as possible, how they react to the transitions, how they react to the conflicts that happen in the classroom, everything you should know about your children. Of course, some details we do get it during the admission time where parents are filling up the form, but other things, the actual personality of the child is what every teacher should know about their child. Okay, so this actually helped me become a firm teacher, but also a teacher whom children really loved. So this was my first mistake, and that's how I wrote down my strong assets. I made my teaching philosophy, my rules for myself, and then I communicated to children. And that's how it was difficult initially. First 3 months, actually, till the children emotionally settle with us, they don't listen to your rules, how much ever good your rules are. So once you give them that time and you try to know them and build relationship with them, it really helped me become a good teacher, a teacher that make sure that the tasks are done, but are also and is also liked by children. Now, next point, a very important point that I feel today's generation of teachers should do it. I did not reflect on my teaching or on my classroom management. How many of you are doing it now? Is anyone reflecting on how your day went? How did your teaching go? Classroom management. Does anyone do it? You can write yes, no, sometimes. However, just to know, how many of us actually do it. Because even my teachers don't do it. Even after sharing and giving them tools, not everyone is comfortable doing it. But I feel that every educator should. Yes, with the parallel teacher, okay. So I think the co-teacher, 2 teachers in the same class. Okay, it's important that we all reflect. We do reflect after the class. I'm sure my teachers do it. Nice. Always, mostly, yes, often. Glad to hear that. So my first 3 years of teaching were very, very frustrating for a variety of reasons, because there were disciplining issues and, but mostly what I realized that we as a team or as an individual, we did not reflect. We did not reflect on our teaching. We did not reflect on the activities that we did. We did not reflect on the classroom management. And we were going through tough time. That 1 year was difficult for us. So since most of you do it, can someone tell me the benefits of self-reflection? How does self-reflection help you? Sometimes after my class, I take time. How was my teaching today? Nice. How does it really help you?
It helps us to improve our teaching day by
Okay.
day.
Okay. Um, I'm not able to hear you. I don't know if it was issue. Okay, same issue. Not commit to those mistakes again. Okay. Yes, Dipti.
Deepthi, your voice is not clear. You can type it out probably.
Yeah, you can type it out. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of comments here for improvement helps to strategize, better delivery, and reflecting helps in realizing what went wrong. Can you tell me? I'm glad that it has helped all of you so much. Some questions that you ask yourself, very specific questions that you ask yourself while reflecting. What are those questions? What questions do you ask yourself? What went wrong? Was my strategy correct? Okay. How can I improve? What went wrong? Did my students enjoy today's class? I was looking for this answer. It's so important. Are children happy? Were children happy? Yes. The most first thing that we all need to ask is, if you want the school to be a happy school, the first question that we need to ask ourselves after the class is, were my children happy today, or were they bored? Did they have a good time or interesting time, or were they bored? And that is the first question that we need to ask. Yes. And of course, then comes your classroom management. What went wrong? What went right? What can we do better? And self-reflection has really helped me on an everyday basis improve my teaching. But one self-reflection that has actually contributed too much to my growth was self-reflection of the entire year. Yes, so when we end the academic year, we have a form, and we've created an form where there are certain specific questions about your goals, about your teaching goals. Were you able to achieve your teaching goal? And teaching goal is not just the portion that you covered, but were your children able to physically achieve that goal? Were your children creatively, in your creative development, were they able to achieve the goal? So I would suggest, along with your day-to-day self-reflection, also focus on self-reflection of the entire year before you start the next academic year. So you can do it once this academic gets over. You can also reflect on your goals and reflect on your teaching at the end of first term. Because when you reflect on that entire first term, it gives you a big overview of how the entire term went. Yes, so I did not do it during my teaching days, and that really I had challenges on understanding children and also managing the classroom at that point of time, because I was not reflecting. We were not reflecting as teams. There were so many activities which we thought as teachers are so interesting for children, but it actually didn't go well. But we didn't reflect on it, and we kept making those mistakes. So this, I feel, I'm glad that you all are already doing it. Next, the third is, I'll just start my presentation again. Yes. So the third mistake I made was I focused too much on students giving right answer instead of focusing on students' learning process. We all want children to answer right, but it is also important to focus on the entire process, how they are learning. They will eventually get mostly it happens with writing. We focus sometimes so much on writing that there is a process, of course, in which children learn how to write. But what happens is that it becomes so boring and so tedious for children that they start hating to write, because we are focusing, it's a skill that children will eventually get it, eventually achieve it. But yes, you need to give them practice through your pencil grip activities, or through your fine motor development activities, or even giving them to write, but you cannot overdo it. Yes, so I focus too much on students giving right answer instead of focusing on students' learning process, because initially I actually only engaged students when there was a problem or there was a question and they were wrong. So I would only interact with them when they were wrong. If the children has got the answer right, I would not try to understand how they have got to a problem, or how they have got to the right answer. So in past couple of, after 2 or 3 years of initial teaching, what I actually started doing is I started asking students to walk me through what they did to reach to the right answer. What was the methodology they did, or what was the entire process, especially in math, because there are different steps, or even in English, what they did and how did they reach the right answer. So even asking the right kind of questions helped me understand whether the child has understood the concept or not. So I was so curious about their process that sometimes even the answer was right, but the child actually didn't know the process, the child didn't know the steps. The child got the right answer, but I realized that the child has not understood anything, and somehow by hook or fluke he has reached the right answer. So it is important that we focus on the process and not just on the right answers. And the fourth mistake that I did was I always believed, or I always thought, that I'm not teaching them enough. I am not teaching them sufficient. There is always something missing. So during my initial years, I actually went up to my mentor and I confessed that I'm actually scared and afraid that I am not teaching my children enough, my students enough. And I explained further that I believe that every child should reach a minimum standard to achieve a passing grade. That is there. But then I was actually not teaching sure where to set that minimum standard for my subject. I couldn't do it. I didn't know what is the minimum standard because the marks come very late. Initially there were grades, so I couldn't really judge that. And my mentor actually asked me, you want minimum standard of what? Of what? Knowing ABCD or knowing numbers, shapes, colors, reading, writing? What is the standard according to you? And why do you need the standard? And I didn't have an answer to my mentor, but I just told him that I think I'm not teaching them enough. But on that day, what my mentor told me, I learned a very important lesson. He told me, you are not teaching them ABCD, numbers, addition, subtraction, literature, shapes, colors. You're not teaching them that. And I was very confused. I was very amazed. What is he saying, And then I was like, then what am I teaching? And my mentor said a very beautiful thing. He said, you are teaching children how to analyze information, relate the information that you have given to other information they already know, and then to put it together, take it apart, and give it back to you in the form that you requested. So it doesn't matter what class, what subject you are teaching, but eventually we all teach them the same thing. We are teaching them to analyze information related to the real life, related to the information they already know, how to apply it, which means how to put it together and applying it, how to take it apart and give them back as you requested. We are just using different terms. Like an English teacher would call it as nouns and verbs and adjective. Math teacher would call it as addition, subtraction, triangles, and some numbers. But we are eventually teaching them to only take the information, analyze it, and relate it. And apart from that, you are also having one optional agenda. You are teaching your children to believe in themselves. And that should be your agenda. That should be your goal. And I was very happy to see some teachers had written, when I asked them the first question, they said believing in themselves. And that's what our optional agenda is. Okay? And the last mistake that I made was I was not gender neutral when introducing certain topics. Yes. And today when I look back, I am actually very, very amazed about this. Very amazed that at that point of time, I was not gender neutral. Can anyone share some example why some of the concepts are not gender neutral? How they are not gender neutral, rather? Okay, so what do you tell when you are teaching them the concept of family? What is the role of a mother that we generally tell? What are the duties of a mother? We always say to cook food and take care of the family. That's there in every book. Yes, correct. Housekeeping, take care, house chores. Yes, and what is the duty of a father? To earn money for the family, to go to office and earn money. We all have done that. Instead, can we tell them that the duty of every family member is to actually take care of each other, be it financially, emotionally, by doing your household chore? Can we just change that? Because today's husbands are also cooking and wives are also working. So let's try to make them gender neutral and let them not get stuck that, okay, mothers only take care of the house. So that is one thing that we all educators have to change. Okay. Second, our flashcards. What happens especially when you introduce community helpers, when you are introducing teacher, is it a male or a female? Yes. When you are introducing farmer, is it a male or a female? Always a male. When you are showing them pilot, police, it's always male. Yeah. So it's important that now we show, yes, even a doctor is always male and nurse is always female. So unintentionally, unknowingly, we are making our children gender biased. That a teacher can always be a female, but we always have male teachers, right? Now we have women pilots also. We are in the 21st century, but our books and our flashcards are still in the 20th century. Yes. So flashcards needs to be changed drastically. If you actually open any picture book, this is a biggest issue that we are facing. Yes. And we are unknowingly giving a lot of wrong messages to children. And imagine community helpers are taught to children in nursery, LKG, UKG. So at the age of 3 years, we've already told them that teacher is always female. Pilot is always a male. Yes. So that is something I also made this mistake unless I realized that what a big blunder I have done. Yes. Next, avoid using phrases like man-made structures. Especially history, geography, we use man-made things and man-made structures. There was a famous video of a girl asking the mother why it is always man-made. I'm sure you must have read it. And that girl that day actually made me realize, Yeah, we've been always telling it's a man-made structure, man-made building or man-made monuments. Can we just say it as human-made? Yeah. So then I changed it even in my school, because we all were following the same thing. And another thing, most of the fairy tales and the stories that we use in our classroom always has this beautiful girl with pink lips, rosy cheeks, nice long hair, waiting for the prince to come. Cinderella, Rapunzel. And what are we teaching our children? That a beautiful girl or a beautiful lady is the one who has long hair, rosy lips, even chubby cheeks, rosy lips, teeth within, everything. That needs to be changed. Yes, our stories have to be changed drastically, because those stories were made in UK long back and we are still following that. Lot of these stories, Cinderella, even this the bear one, where the bear is just barging into someone's house. Yes, I forgot the name of the story. When there are Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and small bear, the small, Goldilocks. Thank you, Suchita. I just couldn't recollect. How can we just barging into someone's house and just sit there, enjoy their meals, sleep on their bed? What are the messages we are giving our children? Yes. So also avoid saying skin is as white as snow. When we are using adjectives and all, skin is as white as snow. There are so many colors now. Lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. These are the words that we use, in English and in our regular conversation. We need to stop that. We need to tell children. I remember one more book. I went to one conference and they had displayed it. And I was so shocked. It was just 4 years back. There was a beautiful picture of a beautiful lady and it said beautiful. And there was a picture of a dark lady with the hair all coming out and it said ugly. Why do we need to teach our children that any human being is ugly? Irrespective of color, irrespective of how they look, everyone is beautiful. Yes, so all these definitions have to change, and I would suggest that we need to now tweak. You can use the stories, but understand how you can tweak it and portray that all human beings are beautiful. Whether they are black, brown, white, whichever color, everyone is beautiful. Yes, and many a times we've come across boys when they cry or children when they are crying. As adults, it is very, very natural for us to say, boys do not cry. We all have used it some point of time. Why? Why can't boys cry? Why can't they express emotions? And when you say that statement, the boy who is maybe 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever, irrespective of the age, is like feels embarrassed when you call them, when you say that boys don't cry, and we say girls don't fight. Why are we getting gender into our statements? No one fights, be it boy, be it girl, be it any human being. No one fights. Yes, I can see some teachers smiling and nodding their heads. So yes, I'm glad that I'm making a point. And another thing that we all can do in our classroom, that when you are introducing them to new scientists, new authors or leaders, make sure that you introduce both male and female. Because we have female stories, female scientists, female authors also. Even your classroom, your library should have a good balance of male and female authors, and make sure that we introduce children to the authors. Like when you are showing them a book, let them read who the author is. And it should be male, female author books should be part of our library always. Yes, so this were the biggest mistake, especially the last one. I really regret about having that mistake. So I am only trying to create as much as awareness, among educators, because it's all rooted so deep down into our system that it comes very naturally to us that boys don't cry, and the flashcards, we've never paid attention to it. Yeah, even many of our rhymes, if you actually listen to the lyrics of the rhymes, some of them are really bad, and we are teaching them wrong, we are giving them wrong messages. So our rhymes and stories have to be changed drastically, and we cannot follow what British government had got those rhymes long back. We cannot follow the same system. We'll have to change. Okay, so these were my 5 mistakes, but the last one was my biggest mistake. I realized it, and I'm now working towards it to just spread as much as awareness I can. Yes, so thank you so much for joining in. I hope I made some points. I gave you some takeaways. One more thing that I generally see my teachers also doing it, so I thought I can share it here also. We always say big boys and girls don't cry. When children go to primary, middle school, the best statement that we always say is big boys and big girls don't cry. Why do we get age in between? Children need to express themselves. We cannot tell them that big boys don't cry, big girls don't cry. We need to allow them to vent out their emotions, because when these emotions pile up is when you have these, horrible news coming up, for PUBG related and, all those things. So let's not make anything, where we are using gender or age as an excuse. This is an excuse. If we are not able to handle the child, we say big boys don't cry, big girls don't behave like this. Big girls do not behave like this. We use it with our own children also. Let's not do that. Let's allow them to express themselves. Because if they are able, if you have built that relationship with them, they will be comfortable with you to express their emotions and allow them. That's all I would say. So thank you so much for joining in today. I hope you all had takeaways, and I think on this weekend you can reflect on it and make a conscious effort to be very gender neutral and age neutral, and let's not give any comments to children that are not nice. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Siddharth.
Thank you, Greshma. I think that was indeed wonderful, and I'm sure it gave all of us some food for thought to reflect, especially how we as teachers, how we as society, built in, or I would say plant the biases in our children.
Yeah.
I think that was something really nice to note from what you shared today. I'll really invite everybody to just I'm going to invite 2 bells, okay, and I'm going to say a few things in between. I want you to just close your eyes and digest what Greshma has shared with all of us right now, and I want you to make some mental notes as I speak, right, between these 2 bells. Right, so let's just sit back, and I'm going to invite 2 bells, and let's just digest what Greshma shared today. I want you to think about how we plant these mental biases, how we plant these biases in our children. And if you feel that as a teacher, somewhere all of us are responsible for this, I want you to think about 2 to 3 things that you can do tomorrow in your classroom, and for the next week in your classroom, and for the next month in your classroom, and for the next year in your classroom, such that you take a step further, that your children, the children whom you touch, don't get these mental biases. Each one of you, even a dance teacher here, an arts teacher here, all of us are responsible for these biases. All right. So can we put up some thoughts that came to us in the chat box? Let's put up some thoughts. What can we do?
Yeah, I would love to read that.
Avoid giving sweeping statements and students and that are gender specific. Superb. Make sure that our students are a happy lot. Superb. Reflect and analyze data. Great. In my assembly, I've given roles only to boys as shopkeepers. Shall surely change that. Superb. I think that's a great step.
Yeah,
And a very
thank you so much.
one. All right. Know our children. Reflect on our teaching. No gender bias. Superb. We can start positive seeding for all the mentioned things. Examples in every field. All right. Great, superb. So I'm sure as you read some of these comments, you will bounce more ideas through them and you will have more and more ideas. So we have another 10 minutes and I have another small message for you. And this is a very, very powerful learning that I had, and I would really like to share this. So for the next 10 minutes, I want all ears to me, and I want all of you actively listening, right? And when you find something that really resonates with you, what I'm saying, I want you to take a mental note of that, right? Why I want you to make a mental note of that, and also I want you to maybe type a yes, type a yes in the chat box or make a mental note. And that is not to encourage me to speak, but I want you to write a yes in the chat or make a mental note such that you really register that in your mind. Because when you take some action on something, that is when it really registers on your mind, right? So I'm going to share a story. I'm going to share something that really happened with me, right? So many of you know that I've been practicing mindfulness for a long time, right? Many of you know that it's been about 2.5, 3 years when I started this practice. And as I was 6 months into my journey of mindfulness, some calling came to me, and I thought that yes, I should get into Vipassana program, and I plunged myself into my first Vipassana program. That was in 2020. And when I first went to my first Vipassana, it was a splendid experience. It was an experience that I cannot put that experience in words. Right? It was. So I actually registered myself and I packed everything. I packed my clothes, and like many of us would do when you go into a spiritual retreat, you would pack all white clothes and kurta and pajama, and I did all of that, right? And I packed for the occasion. And finally, I turned up to this place, Igatpuri, which is quite close to Nasik. It is one of the first and the biggest centers for Vipassana. And it's very scenic. It is very scenic, very serene, lots of mountains, clouds, beautiful, a lot of rains as well, right? So when I got into the program, I was prepared for it. I was practicing mindfulness for about 6 months, and I actually wanted to do this. Nobody had pushed me into this. No one from my family had gone into a spiritual program like this. So I could not blame anybody कि भाई किसी ने मुझे धक्का दिया है. It was me, and it was all me who decided that yes, I want to get into this, right? So I actually got into this through my own willingness. And I was totally prepared, and I was raring to go that I want to experience this. So, 4 to 5 days into the program, I was really, really enjoying the experience. It was something that I'd never ever experienced, right? And I can't put it in words. Now, in the institute, it is called the Vipassana Institute, and in the institute, you've got your place of residence, which is in one corner of the entire premises. It's a big premises. And then you've got your dining hall, which is in the extreme corner of the institute, right? And every day you've got to walk from your residence to your dining hall. And it's a long walk. It's a beautiful walk. It's a long walk, lots of trees, and you completely feel as if you're in the middle of the forest. There's nothing around, and you're in the middle of the forest. You're safe. There are no tigers, there are no leopards, but it's absolutely serene, right? So you would walk every day from your residence to the dining hall, and it's a really long walk. And since most of you have done mindful walking, so because I had got into mindfulness before I did Vipassana, I thought, let's utilize this time, and I'm going to practice mindful walking every day, right? So this path, every day I would walk mindfully, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time, right? And while I did this, I would see that, okay, I am taking maybe 15 minutes to go from here to the dining hall, while the other people are maybe, I've started 15 minutes early and I'm reaching late, but everybody is just passing quickly, and they're just reaching the dining hall in a minute. And this is my residence, this is the dining hall, and somewhere here is the meditation center. So you would pass the the Dhyan center or the meditation hall that they would call it. Now somewhere on the 5th or the 6th day, something amazing happened for me. On the 5th day of the program, while I was walking from my residence to this dining hall, I saw myself, I noticed that I suddenly kicked something, right? And when I noticed that when I kicked something, I suddenly felt very, very happy. And I noticed that, why am I feeling happy? I was trying to figure it out. And one day, just one day before this, right? Just one day before this incident happened, Guruji at the Vipassana Center had actually told everybody that when some action happens, something happens inside your body. कुछ तो एक chemical reaction आपकी body में हो रहा है. And that chemical reaction is responsible for everything, right? So because I was so inclined and I was so willing in this program, and I was super motivated from within, right? I felt like a scientist within my body. I went crazy. I felt as if I have discovered the world, right? I felt amazing, right? So so when I kicked this was a pebble, okay, and I kicked this pebble and I felt happy. And then I said, okay, let's stop. Let's observe what my teacher has taught me. Let's observe what's happening in my body. Okay. So I observe my breath, what's happening to my breath. I observed the sensations within my body. They are called samvednas. Someday, if you get in, then you will know what it is. So I observed that. And I asked myself, why am I feeling this? And something beautiful popped up. A very old memory popped up while I was playing football. So I was in grade 12th. I was studying in Delhi Public School, Vasant Kunj. Okay. I had just taken admission in grade 12th in that school. Never ever I was in that school before. जब मैं 12th में उस स्कूल में गया, I did not know anybody. एक person को सिर्फ मैं जानता था वहाँ पे. No friends, nothing. I was playing football in a PE period. And I was in the, if some of you know soccer, I was in one corner of the field जहाँ से corner kick लेते हैं. और वहाँ से मैंने जोर से एक kick मारी. And Bhagwan जाने, God knows how that ball went into the net. It was like a very steep angle. I am not a football player. I've never been into any football team, but somehow that ball went into the goalpost. And I was extremely praised for it. That incident, that moment was the moment when a lot of people came and spoke to me for the first time in that school. That moment was the moment when a lot of people, asked my name, that, okay, who are you? Right? So I felt so happy. And, in that moment when I kicked that pebble and I felt what's happening inside my body, I was able to figure out that this happiness is not because of kicking of the pebble. This happiness is because this super computer that I have, my mind has actually rewired itself and connected this action directly to happiness. And every day our mind is doing this kind of rewiring. Each and every day, every second, our mind is doing this rewiring. Right? And like I said, I became this crazy scientist, right? So a scientist would not be okay with one experience. So like some of you science teachers would say, Tarun, in our science meet says that this is a hypothesis. So I said, yes, okay, this is a hypothesis. Let's do another experiment on this. I am not going to agree. I am a scientist. I am not going to agree कि भाई ये होता है, ये चमत्कार है तो. I am not going to agree that this is science. And don't tell this to my parents, but I am not somebody who is a deep believer of God. I am a complete believer of science, right? So I said, let me figure this out again. Let me do. अगर ये सही में science है, तो ये दोबारा होगा ना? Science तो एक बार नहीं होता, दोबारा होगा. So when you are into Vipassana, you would always carry a bottle of water. So somehow what happened? I suddenly popped a bottle of water and I caught it. And I'm a big sports player. In school, I was a big sports player. I said, okay, let's observe my sensations again. And again, a memory from back in school in grade 8 popped up when I'd actually taken a really, really high catch of one of my cricket coaches. He was batting, somebody was bowling, and I was the captain, and I took that catch and I was deeply praised for it. Another memory popped up when I was bowling and I took a catch and I was praised and we won that match, right? So I said, no, this is not something that's happening by chance. This is actually science, and it's true. It's happening to me, and it's not just happened once, it's happening again and again, right? So that's when I figured that this is how our mind is actually working. And this was what was being told in theory, but I never understood this. This I understood through my experience, and I will never ever forget this in my life because I understood this through my experience. And now why I'm sharing this to you? What is the reason I'm sharing this to you? Can someone tell me what the reason is why I'm sharing this to you? Every day, there's some or the other thing that's happening in our classroom. A child is not bringing a notebook into the classroom. A child does not finish his homework. A child is talking. And all of these are actions. And we sometimes get irritated. Sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we get upset. But we need to understand this. It is not because of that action. My happiness was not because of the kicking of the pebble. It is not because of that action. It is because of our past baggages, sometimes good baggages, sometimes bad baggages. So it is not that action. It is not that action that is creating those feelings. It is our past baggages. It is our past wiring of our brains, past wiring of our mind. It is the stories that we've told our mind, right? It is all of that. So the child is not responsible for that feeling. It is us who's responsible for that feeling. We've planted those seeds within us. It is all of us that is responsible, right? So that's very, very important to understand. And that's really, really important to experience as well. You know, there have been so many years for me when I've continuously blamed my surroundings and other people and what's happening around me for the bad feelings that I got, right? But when I went through this journey of mindfulness, when I'm going through this journey of Vipassana, and it's a never ending journey, I understand today that whatever I feel, whatever I experience, it is all in all me, nothing outside, and it's all in my control. And it is all me. What I am doing today is reaping my fruits for tomorrow. And because I've gone through this journey, I can share and I can help how we all can go through this. I started this journey just by 2 minutes. 2 minutes in the morning, then I went to 5 minutes, and then I went to 10 minutes. Just 2 minutes of observing your breath every day. That's all. That's all this needs. Just 2 minutes of observing your breath, the way it is. Lambi saas, choti saas, nahi. Just the way it is. Right now you're breathing. Each one of us is breathing right now and you don't know that you're breathing. So just observe your breath the way it is and for 2 minutes. That's all. That's all I ask from you. Let your past baggage not dictate who the future you is going to be. Let your past baggage, or let our past baggage, not dictate what is in store for our children. Right? So I'm just asking for these 2 minutes every morning. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Greshma. Really enjoyed today's session.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, all of you. Bye. I'll see you soon someday. I'll come to your school someday. Bye.
Thank you so much, Greshma ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience. Thank you, Greshma ma'am, for such a wonderful session.
Ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.